Foreword by Eric and Sean Williams. Every family has stories. Some are passed down at reunions. Others are shared over dinner. Ours were whispered in a darkened living room. The glow of a single lamp or the blue light of a snowy TV screen, casting long shadows on the walls. These weren't fairy tales or bedtime fables. These were vampire stories, monsters in the basement, creatures in the woods, shadows that moved when they shouldn't. My father, Leroy Robert Williams, a.k.a. Willie to his friends, was a born storyteller. He had a passion for crafting tales, hundreds of them ranging from wry and whimsical to terrifying and surreal. We grew up listening to them. Some were made up, spun from his imagination, with a gleam in his eye. But some weren't. Some of them were real. He told us he didn't invent those stories. He just wrote down what really happened after we told them to him. He chronicled them, he said, for posterity. In 1971, he added this new kind of stories to his growing collection. A story about vampires. The first of these began with us, the Williams kids, exploring the ruins of the Steele Mansion in Rochester. What we found there was no ordinary local haunt. Inside that crumbling shell, a cult of vampire-like worshippers were attempting to bring something or someone back. We interrupted their ritual. We escaped as the sun rose. But what we saw, what we survived, changed everything. We told our father, and it wasn't the end. Soon came another. One of the vampires had escaped, holed up in a boarded-up house on the corner of Leroy Street and Lake Avenue. We were kidnapped. We fought our way out, fleeing through familiar neighborhoods to Graham and Chaz's house on Denise Road. That night, even our grandparents' pets seemed to rise to the occasion. Their dogs, their cats. It was like the whole world knew something dark had moved in. Again, a father's eager ears recorded and transcribed what had happened. When we moved to Hilton in 1973, we thought we'd left the monsters behind. But the murders started again, this time right in our small town. The trail led us 2 miles south of our house to an abandoned farmhouse. That's where we confronted Janos Skorzeny, the vampire responsible. But this time, help came from someone outside the family, Carl Kolchak, a journalist and vampire hunter who had tracked the creature from Las Vegas and Chicago to upstate New York. Together, we ended that chapter. And then they came for us again. The last of my father's Dracula Chronicles wasn't about Dracula. It was about revenge. The vampires sent monsters to hunt us down one by one. Each Williams kid faced one. Deb, our eldest sister, Bob, our oldest brother, then me, then Eric, the youngest. It was like some ancient vendetta had marked us. We didn't ask for it. We just refused to run from it, despite warnings from Kolchak and our father alike. Those stories were folded into the many that Dad told us, late at night in the living room. They became part of the canon. Some of them, like Xenar and the Vampire Planet or A Halloween 1948 Adventure, were more fun than fear. But a few came with details too specific, too haunting to dismiss. And all of them, real or not, were his gift to us. He wasn't just entertaining his kids. He was preserving something. This novel, The Night Stalker, 2000, was originally written over 25 years ago, while those stories still echoed fresh in our heads. It began as transpiring events, ideas shaped by late-night memories, woven by my intent to chronicle as Dad did. Using Kolchak reruns and the lingering thrill of Dad's voice in the dark, what you're holding now is its fully chronicled form, a pulp noir adventure rooted in that same childhood lore, finally brought to the page in the way it transpired. There's one person who never appeared in those original stories, our cousin, Matt. He wasn't in the Steel Mansion or the Leroy Street Showdown, but he became part of this one, the most recent chapter. This time, the vampires came back for all of us, only older, smarter, and more dangerous than ever. And we were ready. Sort of. What you're about to read isn't just another story. It's a continuation of a legacy that began more than 50 years ago from true events transformed into stories in a quiet living room. A new adventure built on a lifetime of old ones. A fight that started with 4 siblings and now includes a cousin, a city, and a truth we've tried to live with our whole lives. Vampires are real. So read this with an open mind, or don't. But remember, my father didn't make those specific stories up. He just recorded them. And now I'm doing the same. Because the Williams kids are back. And this time, the vampires should be afraid. Prologue. An old fear reawakened. June 2000, 4 a.m. The clock ticked with a slow, deliberate rhythm, each second a tiny hammer tapping the back of my skull. 4 a.m. The hour when even the streetlights seemed tired. I hadn't slept, and I wasn't going to, not after what I'd seen. The living room was dim, lit only by the faint blue glow of the stereo's digital display and the weak spill of a street lamp through the blinds. Old newspapers were scattered across the table and floor, whispering every time I shifted. My fingers tapped out nervous beats on the armrest. I couldn't sit still. My thoughts were louder than the room. Who would have believed that at the dawn of the 21st century, a major American city could be swallowed whole by something dragged out of the Dark Ages? Monsters, terrors, things the textbooks call myth. But they weren't myths. Not in Rochester. Not now. It had started again. A string of murders and disappearances. Gruesome, inexplicable, erupting with a rhythm too familiar to be random. The cops had no leads. The media had no guts. But I recognized it. I recognized him. And what shook me wasn't the savagery of the killings. It was the déjà vu. We had seen this before. A lifetime ago. 25 years. The old tape machine sat beside me on the table. Its casing was scratched, the buttons worn smooth. But it still worked. It had to. I needed it to. I hit play. Chapter 1, came Kolchak's voice, grainy and unmistakable. This is one of the most incredible... The tape hissed, then began to fade. What are you doing? Eric's voice startled me. He stood at the hallway entrance, hair flattened on one side, eyes squinting against the dark. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. Go back to sleep, I told him without turning. I've got more to do. More? That was Matt, somewhere behind him, just as groggy. What else is there to do? I can't sleep. This has to be written down. You know, like our stories. Eric rubbed his face. Well, keep it down. Bob's still asleep. Matt shuffled closer, then tossed me a pair of earbuds. Here. Use my earphones, I caught them. Thanks. Whether anyone believed what I was recording didn't matter. Belief had never been a requirement for the truth to exist. And this truth, this waking nightmare, was clawing its way back from the grave. People say creatures like that aren't real, that they're legends, fairy tales built to scare kids into staying indoors. But legends are always based on something. Some root truth twisted over time. I had to record this, like Dad used to do when we were kids. He didn't always believe us either, but he listened, and he wrote it down. Maybe he knew. Maybe he just didn't want to believe. Where the hell do I start? I clicked the tape again. Try to tell yourself, Kolchak's voice said, almost whispering through the static. It couldn't happen here. Couldn't happen here. Yeah, how appropriate. Because it did.